Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we're going to take a look today at vintage mint on card Kenner and Palitoy Star Wars figures, mainly Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Power of the Force, which pretty much covers the entire line, I know, but I didn't have any early card backs is what I was trying to say in a roundabout way. Mostly auctions, but I want to start with this one because I had a Patreon supporter reach out about this one, and I have no idea why this one sold for the price it did. 30 bids on this one, and we'll take a look at the bid history in a little while, which I have not done yet, okay? We're going to do it live as I make this video. But it's a 31 back B Leia Bespin graded AFA 80. 80, 90, 80 were the sub-scores. And as you can see, the neck on this Leia has turned green, which does happen with some of the early Leias. So I don't know if necessarily that 80 sub-score for the figure really holds up anymore. It's really more like a 75 now at best. Punched example, okay, so not unpunched. There is no price sticker, which is nice, but it was graded AFA 80, and it is obviously an early, if not the debut, Leia Organa. $2,037. Now, this one was a relisting, okay? So this one was listed a while ago, and it sold, and then I guess he relisted it because of non-payment or what. But it only takes two people to tango, all right? And I'm not talking about in the bedroom. I'm talking about when it comes to an auction. So if two people put in nuclear bids, this is the kind of thing that can happen. This is really worth, to me, probably $800 to $900 absolute max, okay, because of the green to the neck. And some people might want the green to the neck for this Leia Organa. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing that does happen with some of the early Princess Leia Bespins. So let's take a look at the bid history to see what we got here. Now, I'm looking at the bid history, and it looks legit. It does. I don't see anything in here that really scares me other than this one that had 3 bids or 3 feedback. So could it be shill bidding? Maybe, but this is a seller that I've seen regularly on eBay, and I don't know if he's shady. I mean, I've seen items from him. I don't think I've ever bought from him before. So the 3 feedback is enough to where maybe it's just a nuclear type of situation where we had obviously some bids at $1,250, $1,300, $1,400, $1,400, until finally this bid of 2012. So I think what happened really is this person put in a nuclear bid who had 3705 feedback, so a legit buyer, and it was outbid at the last second by this person with only 3 feedback. So if we see it again, then maybe some question marks might get raised. But again, this seller is somebody that's been on eBay for a while. I see this seller very regularly. Always has really nice high-end Star Wars items. 665 transactions with 100% positive feedback. So I tend to think it's not shill bidding on this one, and it's just a case of 2 people that put in nuclear bids, and it results in a crazy price like this. I'll be curious to see if that person actually ends up paying or not for this item, because I do think it's a gross overpay. And this video is not going to air until a week or 2 after this auction ends. So we'll let the dust settle and see if it actually gets relisted or not. But if it didn't get relisted, again, you got to be really careful about when you nuclear bid. I've put in some nuclear bids before and won, and then later on I realized how much I overpaid for it, and I'm prepared to do it on certain items. But I've also nuclear bid and lost. And I've had listings, auctions for items where I've had, people nuclear bid with 0 feedback, and then they obviously never pay. And I've had people that have nuclear bid on items of mine where they did pay. So, you just never know what's going to happen on eBay. It does happen. It happens on Hakes. It happens everywhere. But this one really surprised me, and I don't know what to really make of it yet. But I will say, I'm not trying to dog the seller at all, because again, this seller is always on eBay and has a very positive sales history as an eBay seller. So I think personally it's just a case of two people that went nuts on the bids. But pretty crazy final price on that one. Now let's dig into some 32Bs. I thought this one was a good one. And I sent this out to my Patreon supporters. I don't know if they won it or not, but it was a beautiful unpunched 32B Imperial Hoth Stormtrooper. And clear blister, unpunched, no price sticker, and it sold for $585, which I thought was a really good deal. And I think that this one would grade pretty highly. I didn't see any issues with the blister or anything like that. So pretty beautiful example. It's not the debut card, which is the 31A, but this one is a 32 back that looked to be in pretty awesome condition, probably an 80 grade at minimum, I would think. $585 I thought was a very fair price for that one. And that's another seller that I see very regularly on eBay, 881 transactions. So I thought that was a great deal. Here was another one I sent out to my Patreon supporters. Again, I don't know if they ended up buying it or not, but this is the poor man's debut card for Bosk. This is the 32 back B. There's a very rare 31A Bosk that is very tough to find, less than 20 known examples the last time I read on Facebook about it, and they go for many, many thousands of dollars. But this one was the 32B. This is one I have in my collection. This one was listed for $950, AFA 80, clear blister, unpunched, with a little bit of sticker residue and kind of sticker shadow in the upper right-hand corner. I assume that's what that is. It could just be reflections on the case from the photos. But that one was listed for $950. It sold for $850. $850 was the best offer accepted, which is actually less than what I paid for my AFA 80 Bosk 32B that's punched. So someone, I thought, got a pretty good deal on that one. A very nice price, I think, for a 32B. Poor man's debut Bosk. Here's another one I did send out to my Patreon supporters. It wasn't perfect, all right. It had a ding on the blister, but it was clear blister, white Bespin security card, 41 back, and it had some sticker residue upper right corner there, but it was listed for only $200. I was like, look, you could spend your money a lot worse than $200 on a 41 back clear blister Bespin security guard in about a 75 grade, and it sold for $175. That was the best offer accepted on that one. Again, a great deal for an ESB card back. I thought that was very fair price. This Obi-Wan Kenobi had slight yellowing to the blister, and this one was another 41 back. And, it had some issues to it. It wasn't perfect by any means, but, it looked pretty clean overall. And the blister had yellowed a little bit. It did have a little soft crease on the card right here on the right-hand side that you can see there. But probably like a 75 grade. And that one sold in an auction for $355 on 17 bids. Unpunched example, no price sticker. This was another interesting one. This is a Kenner Canada 45 back R2D2 sensor scope with a slightly yellowed blister, but it was a very high grade example. It was an AFA 90. So 45 back, Kenner Canada, 90, 90, 85 were the subscores. And this seller had a reserve on this one for the longest time, and then he kept dropping it. I never understood the concept of listing an item at auction with a reserve. Just either list it at auction with a low starting price, or list it in a buy it now situation for the price you want. If you list an item at auction and you have a reserve on it, in my opinion, people don't bid. And this is a case where I left it on my watch list in case it actually did sell. But, if I was interested in this item, I wouldn't even bother bidding because it's got a reserve. You don't know what the reserve is. And to me, it's like a waste of time. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Either list it and buy it now for $1,300 or $1,400, or have an auction starting bid of $1,000 and no reserve on it. That's the way I would play, because you're more likely to get people to actually bid on it. A lot of people get turned off from even bidding when you have a reserve on the auction. That's my personal opinion. I might get crushed for that, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's kind of a pointless exercise. And I get it maybe if you just don't really want to sell the item and you just want to test the market. So you put like a $2,000 reserve on this item and just see what the market will bear. It might give you an idea of fair market value without actually having to sell it, but you still got to pay fees for eBay, and you're not actually getting the item sold. So I never understood the concept of reserve auction when, he ended up taking it off anyway, or lowering the reserve anyway. So Just my 2 cents on that, but still a really nice item. I'm not trying to kill the seller here. I'm just giving my personal opinion on reserve auctions. I just find them kind of annoying, and it discourages bidders. It discourages people. A lot of people will see a reserve on it and then they won't even bid. They'll just, whatever, so, and I've had cases like that. There was an ASM 3 in a CGC 7.0, I believe, that was at auction with a reserve, and it just didn't sell. And then he finally took it off of reserve, and it ended up selling for a price that was even less than some of the previous auctions that he had. And so I would have probably bid on it because that's a book that I'm really looking to get right now. And I would have bid on it if I had known, but because he had the reserve on it, I just, I kind of ignored it. And then he ended up taking off the reserve after I've already kind of ignored it. So it doesn't do, in my opinion, it doesn't do the seller any service, because there are qualified buyers out there like me who would have bid on that, and I probably would have paid more than what it ended up selling for on eBay. But because I had already written it off because it had a reserve on it, and then he took off the reserve later. So it's just my personal opinion. Again, I'm not trying to crush the seller, because I actually think this seller watches my channel. So shout out to the seller on that one. I'm not trying to kill you, okay? But I just think it's a mistake to use a reserve. Here's another one I did send out to my Patreon supporters. I got 2 Yodas that I sent out. This one wasn't as good of a deal as the other one, but I still thought this was a pretty good deal. This was the 41 back survival kit offer Yoda. So a little bit tougher to find this one than the 32B. And it was clear blister. It did have some dings on it, probably about a 75 grade, but it was listed for only $370. And given that it's a clear blister and in pretty decent shape overall, again, it had some issues around the hang tab, and then there was some small rippling and dings to the blister, but probably an overall 75. For $370 for the 41A, which is tougher to find, I thought that was a pretty good deal. But this one was the mega deal, okay? And I didn't realize it when I sent it out at the time. I still would have sent it out to you guys. I wouldn't have bought it myself or anything. But this one was a clear blister Return of the Jedi Yoda that was listed for $400, and I said, buy it now because this thing's going to sell really quickly. But as Aaron M., who's a Patreon supporter, pointed out, this was the made in Mexico. This was the Lily Letty version of the Yoda. And so you can see there in the lower left-hand corner, made in Mexico. It did not have the punch going through the back of it that you usually see on these, which does happen. But that's why it stayed clear blister. But you got a Lily Letty Yoda inside this blister, and for a mint on card Lily Letty, you got it for $400. So I don't know if any of y'all got it or not, but it was just an incredible deal. This is, as Aaron pointed out to me in private messages, this is probably worth more like $800. And I thought that was a particularly good deal. This one would probably grade out at maybe a 70 plus because of the creases to the card. But so what? It's a made in Mexico Yoda. You're getting a mint on card Lily Letty Yoda for $400, given that this figure in near mint condition can sell for about that price just loose, ungraded. So congrats whoever got it. I don't know if any of my Patreon supporters got it or not. It sold instantaneously after I sent it out. Next up was another Yoda. I didn't send this one out, but this one did sell for $600. This was the 41D, but this was the apple head Yoda. So you can see the difference in the head color versus the limbs, the hands. So it's the apple-headed Yoda mint on card, and that's why it sold for that price. It's a very expensive Yoda variant to find mint on card. So great deal on that, $600. And obviously the card was pretty rough. The blister was rough. It was yellowed and things like that. But to get these Yoda variants still mint on card, it's kind of like a quest for a lot of my YouTube subscribers that collect Yoda variants. So, was it a fair deal? Probably about right. But, a pretty good deal given that an apple-headed Yoda loose graded in high grade can sell for this price or more, and you're getting it mint on card. So pretty cool item there. I got a couple of different bounty hunters on the 48 back transition card Return of the Jedi free Nien Num offer, or Nien Num offer. This was a yellowed Zuckuss, but still in excellent condition. Probably would grade about an 80. And that one sold in a buy it now situation for $400. And then here was the Bosk. The Bosk is one I do have in my collection. This one was graded CAS 75. The card got a 75, blister 75, figure 85. Clear blister, though, on this one. Unpunched with a price sticker. It was listed with a starting bid price in an auction for $400. And a Patreon supporter picked this one up with a make an offer situation of $650, which, you know, I don't know if you remember, but there was an AFA 80 or 85 that sold at Hakes last year, and it sold for insane money, like $1,800 or something crazy like that. So I think for a CAS 75, that's probably about right in the current market environment, especially with a clear blister. So congrats on that one. $650 took that one home. Next up, there was kind of a rough Palatoy Tri-Logo, but it was unpunched. A Monomon, and you can see the blister obviously had a lot of wear to it. There was a crease by the hang tab, but that one was listed in an auction with a starting bid of $460 and one bid on that one. So $460 took that one home. But a Monomon on the Tri-Logo is usually pretty expensive in higher grade, easily closer to $1,000 in like an 80 grade condition. So, you know, you get what you pay for, but you're getting a mint on card, a Monomon, given that they can loose ungraded, can go for $300 to $350. I don't think that that's a terrible overpay at all. Next up was a 77 back A Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, graded AFA 75 plus, obviously a yellow blister, but it was unpunched, no price sticker. $350, one bid on that one. Luke Jedi seems to be coming back down a little bit in price. For a while there, it was kind of creeping up, but I've seen enough Luke Jedis now that have been consistently in that $350 range that, to me, it seems like, just anecdotally, that the price for Luke Jedis is coming back down to earth a little bit. That is not the same case for the Luke Gunner card. So this one was an AFA 80 plus alternate image Luke Skywalker Farm Boy on the Gunner card back. This one was a punched example with a price sticker. That one sold in an auction for 1,600 bones. Big boy money on that one. $1,600. And the subscores were 80, 85, 85. So really nice example there. $1,600 took it home, which actually, to me, it's actually not that bad of a price. I've certainly seen AFA 80s and 80 pluses and 85s go closer to $2,000. So that's actually not a terrible price. It was heavy yellowing on the blister, which probably kept the price down. It was also punched with a price sticker. I think all of those factors combined to make that one sell for maybe a little bit less than probably what the seller was hoping for, but still a very robust price. Robust price? Who do I think I am? It's a strong price, all right? $1,600. Here was a clear blister 79 back AT-ST driver, unpunched, but two price stickers on this one. This one had the Anakin Skywalker offer, so this is the 79 back C question mark. I can never remember, but pretty good shape overall. I had some light creases at the bottom of the card back. That one sold in a buy it now situation for $200, probably about right for a clear blister. Next up, Brian's Toys had a few Power of the Force, and I've got a few other Power of the Force to kind of round things out here. This was an AFA 85 Imperial Dignitary. Straight 85s on the subscores. It was the Clearview case up top, which usually does hold back the price maybe a little bit, but $373 was a great deal, I feel like, for an unpunched, no price sticker Imperial Dignitary mint on card. $373, AFA 85. That was a bargain, in my opinion. Next up was a Lando Calrissian, graded CAS 75 plus. That one sold in a buy it now situation for $460, probably about right. Next up, we had, if my cursor will work, this was an ungraded Darth Vader Power of the Force. This one was a punched example, but looked to be in pretty good shape overall. Maybe I'm missing something, but overall it looked to be very clean. Assuming no cracks to the blister, $500 is a great price. Very good deal there. Let's check out the description. Nothing really in the description, but again, assuming that it did not have a cracked blister, to get that one for 500 bones is below market, in my opinion. Great deal there. Next up was the 75 plus Han Solo in Carbonite from Brian's Toys. Again, an unpunched example, no price sticker. Pretty good deal. This one wasn't as good of a deal as the Imperial Dignitary, but it is Han Solo in Carbonite, which usually does command a pretty significant premium. This one, again, was graded 75 plus, 75, 80, 90 were the subscores. So again, assuming no cracks to the blister, pretty good deal there at $600. You know, an AFA 85 would probably set you back, I would think, pretty easily about $1,000, if not higher. And then finally, we had an ungraded Power of the Force Imperial Stormtrooper that looked to be in great shape overall. Light sticker residue in the upper right-hand corner. This was an unpunched example with, you know, kind of a moderately yellowed blister, but no cracks to the blister. That one sold in an auction for almost $800. So big number on that one, but I think that one would grade pretty well, probably an 80 pretty easily. So Just a pretty good round mix of items. No early card backs, as I mentioned already, but pretty good deals here and there, and then some that surprised me at the upper end. I hope you enjoyed this look at some of the recent sales. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.